the nerve. And around the fascicle, let's see, where is it? It's on here. So here it is. Around the individual fascicles, there's connective tissue, which is the perimysium. So that's around the fascicles. Then, one more level. Then we have to look at the individual muscle fascicles, because it's in the fascicles where we find the muscle cells, muscle fibers. So let's look. So what they've done here on this picture is they've just taken one of these and like pulled it out like a straw. And inside the fascicle, you can see it's composed of skeletal muscle fibers, parentheses, cells. So here's the fascicle, and this fascicle's got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 muscle fibers. Obviously, way more than that in a real piece of muscle. So here's our actual muscle fiber, and if you look at this depth here, these would be the individual muscle fibers. They're surrounded by this stuff here, the endomysium. Okay? So that maybe makes sense, maybe not. And then the muscles themselves, well, we'll get to that in just a second. The muscle fibers, that's where all the contractile proteins are, the actin, the myosin, all the stuff that you need, for muscle contraction. Yeah, Mike.
Can I get the last slide, maybe 30 seconds?
The one I did show?
No, the one that had the descriptions for the endomysium.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll go back then in just a second. Yeah. So anyway, so if you look at this guy, the muscle cell, the muscle fiber down here, I'm showing you the endomysium around it here, and in the mitochondria and other contractile things in there. But we'll get to more of this in just a second. So that's kind of where all those layers are and how they're organized. Let me go back. I didn't show this slide. This is in your book, but it's I think it's the one I showed is better. And then this one, is this the one you want?
Yes,
Mike?
please.
Yeah. So the epi surrounds the whole thing. It's connective tissue. It's not that, you guys were taking it off last night, and working on it today. It comes off pretty easily. You just got to work out a little bit, right? And then you separate the muscles into their groups, but we're not trying to separate, the fascicles, into anything. We're not trying to get into individual fascicles. We just want the individual muscles. And, I'm actually glad that I reminded myself of this. It's really important, especially, and I think the forearms are the most critical area for this, is just all we're looking for in those forearms are superficial muscles. We've got the flexors, we've got the extensors. So don't be, pulling up the, flexor digitorum, and looking under it for all these little deep muscles. We don't want those. The only deep muscles we really are interested in really are in the upper part of the thigh of the cat, the muscles that are under the sartorius and gracilis. And many of you saw those last night. If you did, you'll see them tonight. So all we're doing is pulling off the epi. The rest is nothing that we can actually work with because it's tissue levels too small. So, are you?
Oh,
Yeah?
I'm fine.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so that's that. Now, a little bit of terminology. Okay, let's get this all up here. There we go. Now, muscle cells are really long. Muscle cells, muscle fiber. So the sartorius here. Real nice. Very long muscle. Right, lots of fibers. Muscles have a plasma membrane around them. All cells have a plasma membrane around them. But in muscles, they're called the sarcolemma. Sarco meaning muscle. If you look it up, sarco is a Greek word for muscle. All cells have cytoplasm, but we're dealing with muscle cells here, so it's the sarcoplasm, just a fancy term. Right? If you look under, if you look with a microscope, it's going to have to be more powerful than we've got, but if you look at the cytoplasm of a skeletal muscle cell, you find that the sarcoplasm itself is composed of thousands of individual structures called myofibrils. And now we're actually going to figure out why muscle tissue is striated. It has to do with the arrangement of the myofibrils and their subcomponents. So with a powerful enough microscope, you'd be able to see that the sarcoplasm is full of these myofibrils. But now we're going to really have to look deep and get a more powerful microscope. And you find that the myofibrils are actually composed of even smaller components called myofilaments. And now we're breaking out the electron microscope, maybe even something stronger than that. I guess that we'd probably use that. And you look at the myofilaments, and you find that in the myofilaments we find the contractile proteins, actin and myosin. These are very important. You're going to hear about these tonight. The contractile proteins are actin and myosin. And it's the arrangement of actin and myosin that accounts for the striated appearance of skeletal muscle fibers. The way in which you'll see in just a second. You can actually kind of see on this model here, these are things we give this thing called sarcomeres. And the way in which these proteins are arranged gives you that picture. Right? So, myofibrils, myofilaments, actin and myosin. Now, unfortunately, here it comes. No, it's unfortunately not being dramatic here. You know me, and I try at all costs to keep physiology out of this room. Well, get the muscles, you almost can't help it. We are going to have to talk a little bit about contraction, physiology of muscle contraction. But ain't nowhere near what you're going to get when you take physiology, okay? Nowhere near. But we have to talk about some of the little other proteins, tropomyosin, troponin, how it all works. It's actually pretty cool. I've got a couple of videos, if I can find them, little short publisher videos. They're a minute or 2 minutes long that show you how all this works. So don't worry, it's not that bad. But, when you get a little deeper into physiology, or if you're interested in, maybe you're going to go, maybe you want to be an athletic trainer or something like that, or you want to go into kinesiology or physical therapy. Oh, good. Man, it's amazing, what the physical therapists have to learn.